Welcome to another episode of Dad, everyone. Thank you guys very much for joining me. I'm excited for the guest that I have on today. He and I literally just recently connected in the last week or two, and I'm really excited to hear a little bit more about his journey and the things that he's doing, not only the impact he's making, but also the impact he's making for families. But my good friend Richard Ramos is joining me on Dad Up. Welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's learn a little bit about you now. I mean, you've kind of how you grew up, things you got into, and then how the mission that you're on now, and then obviously I want to know about your family as well.
Yeah, I grew up in Northeast Los Angeles, and all that kind of goes with that. I was raised by a single mother. Yeah, I'm the youngest of five. My father, unfortunately, was not really part of my life. He was alcoholic and died when I was 18. And
Mm.
so, being raised by a single mom in that environment, it's easy to start to get off track, which I did. And thank God to my mom who 4'11", but man, she was tough on us, strict disciplinarian and never let up, even though I did get off and she did not, I didn't always listen to her. But then as I got older, I got back on what she implanted in me, and I really give her a lot of credit. That, along with my athletic ability, when I went to high school, I realized, hey man, I just want to play ball. I just want to, go a different way, and that's what I did. So as far as my background, that is my background. I always say that my roots are in LA, but my heart is in Santa Barbara, and I've been living here since 1979. But I think that one of the things that helps me, Brian, do what I do is I never forget where I came from and all the destruction and the different things that I've seen throughout my life and in my own family and then, friends and things like that. So I felt ultimately if I could give back, if I could help families, if I could help young guys, young girls, just quit it, get it together and stop all this madness, then that I would feel like I was doing what God wanted me to do.
Mm. And what about your own family?
Well, right now I'm a blended family of eight children. I call us the Mexican Brady Bunch. All my kids are adults, but my five kids, I have two sons. One is head coach at Rigby High School in Idaho. He's won the last four out of six state championships there. My other son's in a master's degree program here in Santa Barbara, and my three daughters are also here in Santa Barbara. My wife's children, she has three boys. One's married, lives in Colorado with three kids. Another's married here, lives here in Santa Barbara with three kids. Oh, and here's my granddaughter. Hi, Miha.
That's
I
awesome.
got back from Palm Springs. Oh, beautiful. Okay, Papa's busy right now. Okay, I can't talk right now. But I'll be there later.
That's
She's
awesome.
downstairs. So that's
That's
one of my 11 grandchildren.
oh, that's
And
awesome.
so my wife's youngest son, he's 27. He's not married, doesn't have any kids. And on top of that, Brian, I have three great grandchildren and one more on the way. So uh,
Wow.
we're a big family. Love my kids. We have great times together. And matter of fact, being a blended family, being a dad, stepdad, not easy.
Right.
And I have a book coming out on that. I wrote a book on the art of step parenting, how to blend families without tearing them apart. And I wrote that book because I know what it's like, and there's a lot of different dynamics that I just wanted to try to give my 2 cents to.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, it sounds like an amazingly big family, an amazing family that has a connection. You guys are all very close, and clearly she's the light of your eye. I mean, I could see you smile and light up when she walked in the room. So that's awesome. I think it's great that yeah, I don't have any grandkids yet. My boys are 26 and 23, and my youngest is getting married this next year. My oldest, I venture to say he probably would be married in the next 1 to 2 years if I had to guess, but no
Yeah.
grandkids yet. But I tell you what, my wife is really, really excited to have grandkids, and she can't wait. So we'll be on that journey probably sooner than we think.
Well,
So
you're going to love it.
that's awesome. Well, let's talk about parents on a mission. What does that mean? What does it represent, and what's the mission behind it?
It's really Parents on a Mission is about leadership. It's teaching mom and dad that you are the most important person in the life of your children. And as far as I'm concerned, you are the most important people in the community. We have to think about, if you think about safe neighborhoods, how does that happen? How do you have a healthy community? How do you build community? And really, what it comes down to is citizenship. And where do citizens come from? They go to church, they don't come from church. They go to school, they don't come from school. Citizens go to work, they don't come from work. Where do they come from? They come from the home. And that's my
Mhm.
message, number one. Secondly, I try to tell parents in America, you are in a daily battle for the heart, mind, and loyalty of your children. And if you don't understand that, mom and dad, you aren't in the game. You need to get in the game because what's going on in this digital age and so many things that I could talk about, what it comes down to, in my opinion and in my experience, why do kids join gangs? Why do they use drugs? Why do they go off and whatever we want to call it? We could name a lot of different things, but what is the root of the problem? And what we're used to is dealing with the symptoms of the problem. And like Henry David Thoreau said, for every thousand men that could hack at the leaves of evil, there's always one striking at the root. I want to be one of those one striking at the root. And I believe the root of the issue starts in the home. And
Mhm.
I don't think that's a big revelation, but that's what I do. So my quick story is this. I was an at-risk counselor at a junior high school. I had 50 of the worst kids on my caseload. And after I got to know them and build trust with them, I began to really say, look, man, what is going on with you? You need to talk to me and tell me. Well, when they started to tell me what was really going on behind closed doors, I decided, okay, you know what? I can't believe everything these guys are saying. I need to go to their homes, and that's what I did. I made home visits on my own. I wasn't invited. Nobody told me to do it. I just knew, as a young parent at the time, I needed to talk to mom and dad. But that's when the light went on for me and everything changed because I realized when I saw no respect, no authority, no communication, no relationship, all of these things, I knew right then that I was fighting a losing battle. And if I really wanted to help my students, I needed to help mom and dad. And that's when I decided to go from being a youth mentor, which I had done for many years,
Mhm.
to becoming a parent mentor. And that's how Parents on a Mission got started. The last thing is this. I was at a birthday party of a friend of mine, and a gang member been killed. And at the time, this was in the early 90s, I had a reputation for helping gang members out of gangs. He comes up to me and says, Richard, look what's going on. You got to do something. You got to get these kids together and talk to them. They listen to you. And I said, look, I have done that and I will always do that, but that is not the best way to handle this problem. He said, what do you mean? I said, let me put it to you in a way that I know you'll understand. If you were to walk down this street right here in your neighborhood and you looked at all the flowers in the garden of your neighbors and you saw that those flowers were dry, wilted, and dying, who would you rather spend time talking to, the flowers or the gardener?
Mhm.
And he just looked at me and said, oh my God, I never thought about it that way. And I explained to him the flowers in our yard are just like the kids in our home. And the problem in the community is everybody, their parents want me to take care of their kids, and I just can't do it. I need more gardeners, more parents, and that's why I call it Parents on a Mission.
Mm. Yeah, it's awesome. I think that my wife's a school teacher, used to be a school teacher. Now she works in administration, and I hear some of the stories and some of the things that I hear that kids go through in school and the behaviors that they show or demonstrate in school. And I was a high school basketball coach for many many years, and I coached my boys from in sports from when they were 4 all the way up through high school. And I see kids that I've coached, thousands of kids that I've coached that had various behavioral problems. And I knew it wasn't necessarily them. I knew it was coming from within the home. And that's a major turning point because a lot of uh, you get a lot of people that are in an authoritative position that try to show discipline to those kids, and yet that's not really the solution to the problem. The solution to the problem is to go deeper, and that's within the home. And so I think you've definitely are on the right track with that. It's so true, and I've seen it myself. So that's awesome. It really is a good mission. I think it's important. You know, your book, Parents on a Mission, just kind of doing a little bit of research about it. It talks about winning the competition for your child's heart, mind, and loyalty, right? What are some of the biggest obstacles you've seen parents face in that competition, and how can they start reclaiming the influence today?
Well, the when we were growing up, a lot of it was gangs and drugs, and it still is. That those are definitely temptations out there. But I gotta say, it's really comes down to social media.
Mm,
That is really what is hurting families and relationships. As you said, you were a teacher for years, and I think you said your wife is still a teacher. If you could ask her, these kids today, they cannot get their face out of the screen. And
mm,
it's all about that. It's all
mm,
about how many likes I can get and trying to put forth this lifestyle. But the issue is when they go home, when I went home, man, there was one phone, maybe the TV with three channels. It went off at midnight and the Star Spangled Banner. That was it, and maybe a radio. But I didn't have access to my friends. Once you were home, we were home, and you could be in the neighborhood. This is global. Now they have 24/7, 365 access to just about anybody, and that is driving a wedge between parents and their relationship, their authority, their family values, all these social media influencers, as they call them. They're not just spreading, hey, here's a nice thing to go buy. They're spreading moral values. So I would say, to answer your question, that is one of the biggest challenges. Now, how do you overcome that?
mm.
No, it's not a revelation. It's called stop letting Facebook take FaceTime away from you and your son. How about that? Just look them in the eye and have a conversation about anything. Take your daughter on a date to get some ice cream. Do some planned activities together as a family. How about this? How about having dinner together? Oh, Richard, we're too busy. We're working two jobs. Okay, can you do it once day a week, one night a week, one Saturday, one morning? How about going to the park? How about playing board games together? Or you know what? How about turning off the TV, the phone, the radio, text messaging, all of it, and just have a dinner and a conversation? That's how we can overcome, because to try to take it away from them, I think that's counterproductive. It's just going to cause fights and you're going to get into a power thing. But to be part of it with them, but also get back to just having simple conversation or go to a movie. It could be anything. But the
Mhm.
point I'm making is we have to give our kids undivided attention from time to time. If it's one hour a day, again, everybody has different, lifestyles, but that's the point. Reach into their life, be consistent, look them in the eye, have a conversation. That's how we can teach them to master these devices rather than being their slaves.
And you know what? Parents have become slaves to their devices too. Parents have become slaves to their own, social media or their own, interest on their own phones. I see. It's interesting to me because you could go to a restaurant and you can sit down and just kind of like my wife and I will go out to a restaurant and we'll sit down and we'll be having a conversation, but I could glance around the room and see other, couples, maybe families and maybe the husband and wife are talking, but the kids have their faces in their phones. Maybe all, four of them or five of them all have their faces in their phones. And it's so funny to me to know that they're missing so much opportunity to connect in a moment like that
That's right.
because they've got their face glued to something else that to them they think is more important than what is sitting right in front of them. And there's going to be a time when they reach a point in their days where they go, man, I wish I could have that time back. And you can't. It's gone.
That's right.
And so it amazes me to see that. And so, yeah, kids is one thing, but parents is the other.
That's right.
Parents need to learn the same thing. And not only that, we know this, and I've said it many times, but practice what you preach, right? If you don't want your kids' face in their phones all day long or all night long, you need to keep your face out of your phone as well. And you
That's
need to
right.
show them a little bit of, let them see, learn by example, right?
Yes.
Um, One of the things that I've told parents too, I've coached a lot of dads over the years, and one of the things that I've told the dads is, listen, I noticed that social media is a big thing for kids. I know that they got their iPads and their laptops and their cell phones that have all these access to different things. I'm not saying restrict your kids from those things. They want to do those things, that's fine, but there needs to be some limitations to them. And one of those limitations that I've always recommended, and it's something that I do myself, is the cell phones in the bedroom. The cell phones in the bedroom needs to stop. When I'm done at night, when I kind of shut down and I'm just kind of trying to relax, close up my day, usually it's around 7-ish, 8 o'clock, between 7 and 8. My cell phone gets put on the counter. I plug it in, it's in the kitchen counter, and it's left there, and I don't touch it again all night. I literally leave it alone. It's not in my hands again until the next day. And that's something that kids need to, I know, trust me, kids are going to be like, well, I got to have my cell phone here for this. No, they don't. They don't need to have their cell phone in the bedroom with them at 11 o'clock at night. There's no need for it.
That's
So
right.
that needs to be a rule that needs to be put in place immediately. But and it's going to be tough for them to do, but it's something that you need to take into consideration.
Well,
Um,
whatever dads are out there, if you're listening to what Brian just said, man, that's the great advice. I mean, that is excellent advice, something that we can all do. You're absolutely right. Mom and dad are sometimes the worst example of not being able to get off that phone.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. You coached a lot of parents, community leaders through your Parents on a Mission, and also youth on a mission, right?
Yes.
Youth on a mission
Yeah.
programs. What
Yes.
key mindset shift do you believe parents need to make in order to become intentional leaders in their own homes?
Well, I believe what I teach is emotional maturity. I think that what happens with parents is that we think that graduation is the end of our education, and
Mm,
really it's the beginning. And that for some reason somehow we stop growing, we stop learning, we just think that the older we get, the wiser and smarter we get, and that's just not true. And I've seen so many dads and moms in their 30s, but their mentality is at 15 years old or younger, and so now they have kids, and that's the problem. Now they have kids and they don't have the maturity level of how to deal with a 13-year-old smart mouth, a rebellious, hard-headed kid. They don't, because they're still that way, and so that just causes all kinds of problems. So I really encourage parents, emotional maturity, emotional intelligence, whatever you want to call it. I like to call it personal growth. That is a lifelong journey and something we can buy books. There's online courses. There's all kinds of ways where, once a week or just on your own, maybe 10 minutes in the morning, reading something inspiring, something that's going to, help you as an individual continue to grow yourself, continue to grow your emotional capacity to deal with not only work and life and people that are out there. That's one thing. But when you come home, we have to be present. We have to be able to be in tune. Emotional maturity. The first one is self-awareness. The second one is self-management, and that is so important because when you come home from whatever you've been doing, we have to be able to connect and be in tune with the home, the kids, the wife, rather than wanting them to be in tune with us. And
mm,
that's part of the problem. So for me, I mean, there's other things, but I would say that emotional maturity is a huge one. And the other two quickly is the proper use of authority and the proper use of discipline.
mm. Yeah. No, obviously, authority and discipline are something that our kids absolutely need, because if they're, we've seen it. I mean, you've seen it just in the mission that you're on, and the the kids that you try to help and the families that you try to help, you see these these families that don't have any authority and no discipline, and the kids are running amok. I mean, I just one thing that I just kind of pops in my head when I think about kids just kind of having no guidance at all is, the e-bike thing where kids are on these e-bikes, and it's becoming a major problem, especially in my area, where you just see these kids just riding these e-bikes recklessly.
Sure.
And we had a kid in our town get killed because he was riding recklessly on an e-bike and got hit by a car. And to me, it's like, I don't blame necessarily that kid. I blame the parents for not having the authority and the discipline to keep that kid in line when it comes to knowing how to handle and be mature and responsible in riding an e-bike. Now, I wouldn't get my own kids an e-bike, but parents that do that or feel that that's okay, great if that's what you want to do. But let's make sure your kids are mature enough to handle it.
That's
And
right.
not only that, let's make sure they're hanging out with the mature ones as well that are also riding their e-bikes in a way that should be appropriate. So that's just one thing that comes to mind when I think about that. But you're absolutely right. Authority is major. I think about when, from your experience working with high-risk youth, what are some practical ways that fathers, especially those who maybe feel disconnected or maybe overwhelmed, because a lot of dads, feel overwhelmed. How can they start building that trust or purpose in connection with their teens?
Yeah, Stephen Covey, I don't know if you have
Hmm.
read him, but he's really somebody I learned a lot from. And he always would talk about the emotional bank account.
Hmm.
And that's what we can do if we've lost connection or there's been a falling out or whatever it is. It takes, again, emotional maturity, it takes a lot of humility for a dad to own our mistakes,
Right.
own up to whatever it is that we said or did, and not try to excuse or say, well, you made me, or to take responsibility. And that's a step to, if there's been a broken relationship of some kind, just take that step of humility to say, hey, you know what? Look, I'm sorry, I'm not perfect. I know I made mistakes, and apologize to your son or your daughter. That goes a long way. I've had to do it many times, so I know, I
Yeah.
know, especially as a stepdad, I've made a lot of mistakes. But the thing about it is, our kids don't expect us to be perfect, but they do expect us to be honest,
Uh-huh.
and having integrity goes a long way. So that's one thing that we can do. And then the other thing is the ability to what I call being a farmer. In part of the book, I talk about different things, but one of the roles of being a farmer is when you're dealing with a son or a daughter who are not cooperating, they're being rebellious. What do farmers do? They plow, they plant, they water, and then they cultivate.
Mm.
Plowing is what I call confronting that child in their heart, breaking up the heart. The seeds are our words, learning how to say negative things in a positive way, like, this is not who you are. You're better than this. I believe in you, but I hate what you're doing, but I love you. Those things. The watering is showing some kind of affection anytime you can. Fist bump, high five, put your arm around a kid whenever you have an opportunity. It's hard when they're rebellious, but they accept it. And then the cultivation is affirmation. Hey, thanks for taking out the trash. Thanks for getting a better grade, stuff like that. If we can do those kinds of things, dads, especially dads, or yeah, it might be a daughter, and show that humility, but at the same time that we're not a doormat. You can't just do whatever you want, and that's why I call it the farmer, like the role of a farmer, because whatever we're planting, we're going to reap. We put the law of the harvest on our side, and ultimately, as all farmers do, not overnight, but we will reap a harvest. And I've gone through that personally, and I've seen other parents go through that, and I try to don't give up, don't give in, hang in there, keep plowing, keep planting, keep watering, keep cultivating, pull those weeds out of yourself and them. In the long run, you're going to reap the harvest. The only hard part about it is parents always say, well, when, Richard, when am I going to see this change? And I don't know. I don't know because some kids take longer than others, and that's the hard part.
Well, the good news is as long as you stick with it, you will see the change. That's for sure. And I do
That's right.
think I think about I was growing up and it was and I know that people of our age, our generation, they probably heard the same thing, but I heard this from my dad many times, do as I say, not as I do. And that's just not that's just not how you raise kids. I mean, don't yeah, I mean you have to lead by example. And now, as my dad's older, and he says, he'll say things to me like, I'm sorry I wasn't such a great dad, or I'm sorry that I messed up in areas of, raising you. He's recognizing those things now, and he's starting to come back and say, you know what, I realize I was a jerk in, how I raised you. I realize that I was hard on you, and I want you to know that I'm sorry, but that I do love you, and I've always loved you. And so he's saying those things to me now, which are great. But it's something that I still think about. Do as I say, not as I do. It's like
Right.
what? Like that's just
Doesn't
not
work.
doesn't
Doesn't work.
it just doesn't work. And I like you, Richard. I had to learn the hard way with my own boys. There were many times where I had to like suck it up and go, you know what? I messed up. I was a jerk, and I need to go to my son right now and apologize, and I need to own it, and I need to like embarrass myself in front of him and say, "Hey, dude, I was a jerk and I messed up and I'm sorry. And I hope that you can forgive me and I love you." And I've had to do that many times. Listen, I mean, like I said, my kids are 26 and 23, and I still mess up to this day. I'm still making mistakes. So
We all do.
we're not going to be perfect,
Nobody is.
but I do know that I know how to own it now. And I've been doing that for a long time. And it's not as hard as you think it is. And it gets easier. Now, it doesn't mean you keep messing up and just, you do have to learn from the things that you do wrong.
Right.
But owning it is so important. And that's awesome. And now you have great grandkids. So now you're going to have to own it to them too.
I hope not, but nobody's perfect, like you said.
Maybe let's talk about a minute for, you speak about leading with love and purpose. Maybe for dads who didn't grow up with that kind of leadership, kind of like you, right? As far as from a
Right.
dad,
Right.
modeled for them. What does it look like to break that cycle and then start that new legacy for their family?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with being authentic.
Mm,
Showing our children the authentic human being who has all the same emotions, but trying to meet them, at not their level, not at a mature level, but hey, I'm like you, I have feelings too. And just being authentic, I think that goes a long way in making that connection because that's what we want. We want a connection before correction.
mm,
We want to make sure that we're always, as you just said, even though we make mistakes, we're always reconnecting, always owning up and making sure, because even though we screw up, we're still the one in authority. And we're still going to
right.
have to call them on the carpet when they screw up. And I don't want to be in a position where then my son could throw it in my face and say, "Well, look at you, Dad. Look what you did. You did this, you did that." But when they have done that, like when I was getting high, when I was younger, I was smoking weed and getting drunk and doing all those things. And then sometimes they were doing that and they're saying, "Hey, I've heard you tell your story." And I say, "Yeah, that was my story." But I came through that. But what I was trying to do is just be authentic and say, "No, no, I never did none of that stuff that you guys are, I never tried to do that." And I think that that helps, our kids realize, you know what, my dad, he gets it. He understands. He doesn't always agree with me, but he does get it. And I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that. I totally agree with that. I think it's awesome. I think the mission that you're on is great. I think what you're doing is phenomenal. I want to ask you this though, if my listeners or viewers wanted to look you up, learn a little bit more about you, uh, I don't know if there's ways they can get involved, but what's the best places for them to do that?
Yeah, they can get involved, or if they just want more information, the easiest thing is just go to my website, richardrramos.com. Don't forget my middle initial, because there's a lot of Richard Ramoses in the world. So if you put Richard Ramos, you will not find me. But if you put richardrramos.com, that's my website. I also have a podcast. called theparentwhisperer.com. And matter of fact, I'm going to record a session right after I'm done with you twice a week. My books are on Amazon. And I do have a train the trainer program where I train what I call parent mentors. I certify them after a 3-day training, and then they take my curriculum uh, from my book and they teach it to parents wherever they're at. So it could be anywhere. Mostly they're school districts, churches, prisons, jails, and nonprofit organizations, wherever people live. The training could be online or could be in person, but if somebody really wanted to get involved, they could read more about it on my website.
Awesome. Well, listen, Richard, it's been a pleasure having you on. Like I said, I appreciate the work that you're doing. You and I kind of fall in the same line as just trying to help families be better, not only for themselves, but for their kids and the next generation that's coming up. So, thank you very much for being on and keep doing what you're doing, brother.
Thanks a lot, Brian. Listen, I appreciate your work. I went on your podcast a couple of times to check it out. So you are doing good work too.
Thank you very much.
Thanks
Thank you
for
very
having me.
much. Yeah,
Appreciate it.
absolutely. Listen, guys, this has been another episode of Dad Up. I want to thank my good friend, Mr. Richard Ramos, for being on. Make sure you guys check out what he's doing. You can go to all the links in my show notes, go to his website, go to his podcast. You can check out everything you want to know about him there. And if you have questions, maybe you're having struggling with something, maybe as a parent, or if there's a teen that's maybe watching this and has struggling with something, please make sure you reach out. You can always reach out to him on the links. And obviously, you can reach out to me as well. But listen, if you are not yet subscribed to my show, please make sure you do that so you don't miss any of the awesome guests that I have on each and every week. And as always, I look forward to seeing you all on the next episode of Dad Up. Wow, another amazing episode in the books. So much was shared, and I'm truly grateful my guest was able to pour into you to help you elevate your dad game and really dad up. Make sure you bang that subscribe button so you don't miss a single episode. And while you're here, please don't forget to leave me a rating and a review. I always appreciate the feedback. And one last thing, don't forget, your role as a dad is one of the most important roles you have. So if you need a little help or have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me on my website at daduptribe.com or at my Instagram page at daduppodcast. Until next time, everyone, Dad Up.